Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is Counter Clipping show number 227 for June 16th, 2025. Our topic tonight is the publisher spotlight on VUCA simulations, but we also have to do the Origins Wargaming preview, so we're going to actually do that first. I am drinking Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve. It is still good. I am still drinking it, and it will continue until it is gone. I am clipping Advanced Squad Leader, and I will continue clipping that until it is gone, which is going to be a while. So there's that. So before we get any further, let me remind everybody to please do like the video if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And if you're inclined to support the channel, there's a bunch of links in the video description to do that, so check that stuff out. I'll talk about the Noble Knight affiliate link in a little bit. We have a new patron, so big shout out to LJ, who's joined us at the swordsman level, as well as a big shout out to our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsors of the Counter Clipping show, from whom we will hear a little bit later. So we're still doing Denant Germans here for ASL. And if anybody would like to get in on the Ardwulf Lair Discord server, I am throwing a link into the chat right now. If anyone, well, we'll talk about other stuff in just a moment. I feel like I'm missing something. I am not, in fact, missing anything. So let's say hello to Alan Salazar, Alistair Logie, Bob Meyer, Brian Jarvis, Charles, Chet Bell, Christoph DeClerc, Christopher Smith, Danny Gable, Danny Seckery, David Imperato, David Zell, Eric Goebel, Eric Selna, the legend himself, Fucko, is here, Jeff Anderson, Jeff Beeler, Joe Hammond, Joe Okabayashi, John Clark, Joseph Caparula, Kyle Harris, Lee Grant, Mark Hodgkinson, Marty Sample is here, Meandering Mike is here, Michael Avanzini, Michael Karlowski, Molotov Cockatiel of Molotov Cockatiel Games, Neil Badkey, Panzer Division Lair, Paul Dangle, Pico Armor, thanks for stopping by, Rick Cox, Rob Johnson, Ryan Huard, Sean Sullivan, Stacking Limit is in the house, Stigler, Todd Walser, Vicky, welcome back to the show, Vince Ree, William Ahrens. I apologize to anyone that I have missed. It is YouTube's fault, as usual. So, let's first of all say one thing. We will no longer be broadcasting this show on, or the Chit Show, on Twitch. I'm not closing the Twitch account or anything like that. I'm just tired of having to stop what I'm doing, hop over to Twitch, and ban some Nimrod for spamming the chat. So I will do Twitch stuff when I have Twitch-appropriate things to do. And yes, as Vince Ree has pointed out much earlier in the chat, the silly leaderboard thing can be disabled, but you have to disable it. This is how you do that. You go to YouTube settings and look under privacy and select turn off leaderboard participation. I did that for myself, and I was hoping it would just magically happen for everybody, and that is not the case. So I apologize on behalf of YouTube, who has suffered a degradation of the experience lately, particularly if you're watching long videos. There's a reason I have mid-roll ads turned off. If anybody is seeing mid-roll ads, please let me know, other than the Noble Knight ad in the middle of the show, of course, because those should be disabled. I have them disabled, but YouTube has been known to just suddenly turn them on at some point. Stigler, you have an auxiliary monitor, so you're doing okay. Danny Gable is Akron, Ohio. So outstanding. We should have a conversation about that at some point. So, well, it's staying there because I haven't moved it yet, to be honest. But it's a bit out of frame, unfortunately. So I can't really bring myself to complain about seeing Noble Knight ads. But sometimes mid-roll ads will come as frequently as every 3 minutes, and that's nonsense. So, Twitch and Blue Sky are not the same thing. Ticker, thank you so much, Mr. John Clark. I have put the ticker up. My email address is on there if anybody wants to get a hold of me. I did put the Ardwulf Lair Discord link into the chat already. We do have a lot to do tonight. So, the first piece of news update, that's not just like I'm not going to bother doing this with Twitch for this. I am sorry, the two people that watch on Twitch, you'll have to come over to YouTube and watch from now on. So, Ooh, this sounds good. I could deal with this. CSR awards update. We're not quite ready yet. I'm not realistically, since Origins begins on Wednesday, I don't think we're going to make Origins, but in the week after Origins, we should be able to get the announcement made. So just stay tuned on that. It's not quite developing as I had hoped, but this is how it is. So that is how we are doing it. Now, Origins Wargaming. So let's hop over to that and fix up the display. There we go. All right, so as usual, there's a great deal of wargaming happening at Origins. This is the stuff going on at the Wargame HQ, which is going to be located in the main gaming hall. Carl Fung, thanks for stopping by. So, yeah, I haven't really done anything with it yet, other than the unboxing, just because I haven't had the time yet. After Origins and after some other commitments are taken care of, I want to get to it. So I don't know. Apparently, it was a lonely frog. So anyway, we're going to just work off the Armchair Dragoons event list here. Now, this is the stuff that's taking place in the Wargame HQ area. This is not necessarily all of the wargaming that is taking place at Origins. There will be other scheduled events as well as like pop-up stuff that happens in the boardroom area. So this is going to be fast. So Kings of War. Kings of War Champions. This is a miniatures game. We've got all kinds of stuff. All kinds of different kinds of games here. Halo Flashpoint, I presume that's a video game tie-in of some kind. Dune Imperium, which I have actually played the digital version. It's a pretty traditional worker placement game, kind of a kitchen sink type Euro, but it's pretty good. The theming's pretty good. Twilight Imperium, learn to play. 300 minutes, so that would be 6 hours, right? Right? No, that can't be right. My math abilities are failing me here at 8:07 p.m. So it's 300 minutes long. Twilight Imperium does take a while to play. Ironclad's Beginner's Brawl. That's another miniatures game. Here's more Dune Imperium. G.I. Joe Battle for the Arctic Circle, Axis and Allies. I admit, yes, I have actually heard that. That one of the singer from Three Dog Night was a wargamer and actually showed up to Concept World Expo a couple of times. And yes, I did get a new chair. This is the chair. It is we bought it at Staples, and it was not an obscene amount of money. So, and it's pretty comfortable so far. It does discourage me from becoming too comfortable, but it also encourages me to sit correctly in the chair, so that's probably good. All right, Leviathan. I don't know what that is, but it's a miniatures game of some kind. Brant will probably tell us. Pax Britannica, I believe this to be the classic Victory Games game. I have actually played that. That is a pretty interesting game. Zombicide for beginners. I'm not really into the whole zombie thing, but I recognize that lots of other people are, and good for them. Armchair Meltwater, that is the Hollandspiel release, as I recall. That should be interesting. That's going to be one of those unique gaming experiences, I think. Airships and Empires, miniatures, Star Wars X-Wing, Ogre, the mega game. I mean, it's basically always a mega game at this point. I suppose I didn't consider this at all, to be honest. So, Brant, this is everybody, not just the Dragoons, but there will still be pop-up stuff happening as well. So, more Zombicide. Where did we leave off? Ogre, Armored Predators, miniatures game. Coastal Command, another miniatures game. The Von Moltke Problem. I'm not sure what that is. Maneuver Warfare. Ironclads. More Ironclads, more Dune Imperium. We got Wings of Glory. We're going to buzz through this real fast. We got Kill Team Sky Pirates, Song for War. Those guys will be there again. They're good guys. And they're Kickstarter funded this time because they kind of scaled the project down to be more manageable for basically a new publisher. Thanks, Brant, for the support. It is much appreciated. Let's see. More Leviathan, Blood Red Skies, which is a miniatures game of some kind. Battletech Tukaid Ambush, RPG. I guess it's Battletech, so it's Wargame adjacent, I guess. Twilight 2000 as an RPG event. Again, GDW, to me, that's Wargame adjacent. Steampunk Beatdown. Rank and File, that is a board game of some kind. I'm not familiar with all of this stuff. Fed and Empire Training Day. Curious to see what that is. I may take a look at that. Learn High Frontier for All. That's an interesting game. Alliance. This is the Columbia Games Alliance Napoleonic multiplayer game. This will be getting run by me. Stalingrad Roads. That's from VUCA that's from Nuts Publishing. Sorry about that. Separate show for for Nuts Publishing. We'll talk about them too at some point in the next month or two. Patria Libre. More Perfect Union. First Monday in October. Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth. That's an upcoming game from Wharf Rat Games. That's Wes Crawford and Ryan Heilman. 700 items on this list. We got the 40Ks on here too. Rivet Wars, more Battletech, Warhammer Jr. I don't know how that's different from the regular Warhammer. Company Update, Academy Games. That's a seminar. Uva will presumably be there. Let's see. And we got a ton more here. Blackwater Gulch, which is a miniatures game of some kind. Battletech, there's a lot of Battletech here, which I guess I'm not particularly surprised by. The Financial Crisis of 2025, that's a seminar. I don't know that I need a seminar about that, but at Origin. Squadron Strike will be there. I think Ken and the Ad Astra folks are usually there. Brant says that Leviathans is the relaunch of the Catalyst Games Flying Battleship game. I'm not even sure I remembered that. The Columbia Games, I should mention this. Thank you, Mike, for bringing this up. There is 4 days left on the Columbia Games Wargame Vault thing that is basically the neoprene mats for most of their games. I only spotted one exception that I knew about that wasn't there, which would be Sam Grant, which hasn't been redone lately, where Bobby Lee did get redone not that long ago. I only backed for the Harn map, so I just couldn't justify spending the money for all of the Harn maps in neoprene, but I expect it to be awesome, though. Star Wars Battle of Endor. Back into the Armchair Dragoon stuff, we got Red Dragon Green Crescent, Littoral Commander Space Force, Pico Armor Panzerblitz. That was there last year, and that was a big hit. Zermatt 2. I didn't know about Zermatt 2, so be curious to talk to Tim about that. We Are Coming Nineveh. I'd love to try that. I was supposed to try that at SD Histon. That didn't happen because that event didn't happen. I don't know why. Howland 44, Red Dust Rebellion. Yes, but I only backed for the Harn map, not anything else. I would have considered backing for the Alliance map, but unfortunately I need the Alliance map in 2 days. So we will be playing on the standard map that comes with the game. So just so you know, folks, this is all the stuff, miniatures adjacent. That's why I'm buzzing through it. All about that base as a seminar. Swords and Sails. More Kings of War. Looks like we got Federation space stuff, which is cool. It's cool to see that stuff back. More Fed and Empire stuff. That'll be interesting. Grimdark Future, Learn to Play. Who knows which Grimdark Future we're talking about? It could be one of the thousands that are floating around. Seminar on the Treaty of Vienna for the 200th anniversary. That's actually pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. There's a seminar about the implications of AI. Now I'm just looking for names here. There's going to be some campaigns in Europe demos that are going to be administered by either Doc or somebody else from Decision. That's actually a pretty neat looking game that I haven't done anything with that yet either. And Operation Typhoon, which I have done an unboxing of, so you should check that out if you are curious about their new Decision version of Operation Typhoon, which is pretty much the classic game. So I'm happy to report. So I think we can get a sense here of the scope of wargaming and wargaming adjacent stuff that is occurring at Origins. That's Mike Colello. Is that Mike is running that? That's cool. Default on the list. Yeah, I should probably have organized this by name instead. So let's try that. Aerodrome, Earth and Water. That was a fairly well-regarded game. That came out a couple of years ago. Jest of Robin Hood, Halls of Montezuma. Halls of Montezuma is, I think, still upcoming from Fort Circle, or is it out? It might be out. So, John Madison, thanks for stopping by. Hearts and Minds, which I tried and kind of bounced off of. Holland 44, which is a fabulous game. Hunt for Blackbeard, that's coming out from Fort Circle and Volko Ruhnke. That's going to probably be a major... That's going to draw some attention, let me put it that way. There are some Kriegspiels. There's a whole bunch of Littoral Commander stuff. Is Sebastian going to be there, Brandt? I'd be curious. Major's Gambit, Microverse, which I played at SD Histon, which is a pretty cool Space 4X game. Over the Rhine, that's the new Goss game, folks. Joe Youst will be at Origins running that. That's going to be pretty cool. Pico Armor needs more players for his 15 millimeter, 7-year, I almost said 7 millimeter, 15 years war, games on Friday. So check that out. Sebastian, the designer of the Littoral Commander games, is not going to be there. Halls of Montezuma is not out yet, except digitally, which doesn't really count. Quartermaster General 1914, Plum Island Horror. Rebels Against Rebellion, Shakespeare's First Folio. That's not a war game, but it's coming out from Fort Circle as well, and actually looks fairly interesting. Stalingrad Roads, again, that's Nuts Publishing. More Starfleet Battle stuff. There's going to be a fair amount of Starfleet Battle stuff at Origins this year after an absence of quite a while. True Command, which is also from Catastrophe Games. That's a pretty cool game too. I got to play that. I'll be disappointed if David does not make it. The answer is almost certainly yes. He is, after all, like an hour and 20 minutes away. So, Votes for Women, We Are Coming Nineveh. We've already covered that. Twilight Struggle with the designer. Which designer? Is that Jason or Ananda? I'm pretty sure it's Jason, because I know Jason's going to be there. I don't know if Ananda Gupta's going to be there or not. Tech Vector Tactical, that is also from Ad Astra. That's a three-dimensional space combat game with vectors and all that stuff, and it's a lot more playable than you might think based on that description. A whole pile of Battletech stuff, which is completely unsurprising. Okay, so David will be the GM on Burnt Moon and Rebels Against Rebellion, plus he'll be on the designers panel. I will also be doing participating in 2 panels as well. One on 50 years of wargaming at Origins, which I feel totally unqualified to participate in, but I guess this will actually be my 30th Origins this week. So there's that. So I guess I got a leg up on a lot of people, but still. And then there will be a seminar or panel on the Charles S. Roberts Awards with me and Ryan Heilman. Ryan will be my partner or one of the people on the panel for the 50 years of wargaming as well. So more Battletech, Blackwater Gulch, Blood Red Skies, Bolt Action Car Wars, which is a lot of fun if you haven't played it. Company updates. These should be very interesting. These are part of the seminar track. Academy Games, Ares Games, Catastrophe Games, Decision, Fort Circle, GMT, High Flying Dice, Slytherin and Matrix, Strategy and Tactics Press, Dietz Foundation, and Warfrat Games. All are giving company updates at Origins. So, Cruel Seas, Budget Dune Imperium, we've already covered that. Engine Thieves and the Confederate Raid on St. Albans. That's actually a pretty interesting looking Civil War related game. Let's see here. More Fed and Empire. Not a war game, but definitely a historical game. Cannot recommend Freedom the Underground Railroad from Academy highly enough. It is an outstanding game. Whole bunch of I'm not like reading all this off or anything because we've got other stuff to cover here tonight. Let's see. More Twilight Imperium, Rivet Wars, Palelu, White Beach 1. That sounds like it might be worth a peek. Is that miniatures? Yep, that will be, if the folks running that are the folks that I suspect might be running that, then that will be worth at least looking at because it was pretty impressive when they did Tarawa a couple years ago. All right. Saga, Crusades and Chivalry, Sails of Glory, Salios of Glory, I don't know what that is. Saganami Island Tactical Simulator, which I've heard of. Space Hulk, Spartacus, is that the one from Compass? That'd be interesting. Star Wars, Battle of Endor, Battle of Hoth, X-Wing, Steampunk Beatdown, no idea what that is. Battle of Incheon, that's a seminar. Here are, in fact, a whole bunch of seminars. Battle of New Orleans, I believe Brant's doing that, I think. Here's the CSR seminar, Financial Crisis of 2025, Implications of AI, Pursuit of John Wilkes Booth, Siege of Fort Niagara, 1759, and the Sinking of the Kursk. Remember the Russian nuclear submarine that went down. Twilight 2000 and Twilight Imperium, Viking Raid on an Anglo-Saxon town. That's going to be neat. Whole pile of 40K that we are not going to go through. A lot of Wings of Glory, Wild West XCOM, the board game, and some Zombicide and Zulus spotted in the south. So that is pretty much the whole breakdown, but there will be other wargaming and wargaming adjacent things happening in Origins as we talked about. So, all right, checking up on the chat. Oh, okay, yeah. Saganami Island Tactical Simulator is the Honorverse version of Attack Vector Tactical. So this is the Ad Astra stuff. Their stuff's pretty neat. They also have some traveler-related materials. So it has varied over the last couple of years, particularly in that year that got canceled due to COVID, and the following, or I think it was the following year, where it was in like October and it was weird and it had much fewer people. Last year, without looking the number up, I want to say they were at something like 17,000, and I would be not surprised if they did 18 this year. So it's a lot of people, but the convention is also pretty spread out. So it's not like you are necessarily going to have to elbow your way through massive crowds of people, or balconies are going to collapse because there's 4,200 people standing on the balcony, as one tends to see in the photos from Gen Con, for example. So it's not that big, but it's still a big convention. But if you are doing anything that isn't in the main gaming hall, then you're going to be able to really limit your exposure to massive crowds. If you are doing most RPG items, most of that stuff is over in the Hyatt, so you kind of have your own space. Not all the RPG stuff is in the Hyatt, but almost all of it is. And what is in the main convention center building is up in the pods, the A, B, C, and D pods. Mostly that's Chaosium stuff, at least in recent years. And you've got kind of that space to yourself as well. So Brant says 19,500. This year they're saying 18,200, but we'll see. And they're talking about, I mean, their contract's going to be up with Columbus pretty soon, so they're talking about moving. If they move, I might never go again. I don't know. If it depends where they go. If they come to Akron, then awesome. However, I am reasonably sure the Akron, Ohio Convention Center, which does exist, will not accommodate 18,000 people. Reasonably sure. Cleveland might, but I have no idea how big, what the capacity on the Cleveland Convention Center is. I have not been there in like 30 years, So, as mentioned, yes, there is a traveler version of Attack Vector Tactical. And if you really want, we'll talk about this before we get to the actual show topic, which is actually going to be, let me switch over back to this thing, which is VUCA Simulations, and we'll take a walk through their catalog and some of their upcoming stuff. I don't have a new update, but what I can tell you is that the campaign for Case Blue is at 40%. When we have accumulated the funds, then the button will be pushed. You will all be informed on this show, and I'll probably do some additional promotion on it for that matter. And we will be giving it away, that unpunched copy of Case Blue, on this show at some point. Now, I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to accumulate that much store credit, but the more you use the affiliate link in the video description, the faster it'll go. So that's what we're probably looking at is probably late July, early August, but I'm completely guessing. It could happen sooner, it could happen later, who knows. It is expensive, so you will have a chance to experience Case Blue as an owner of Case Blue if you are the lucky winner. And we're going to do it exactly the way we do normal giveaways too. Also, at some point before the end of June, there will also be a giveaway of the new OCS game, The Forgotten Battles, because I have an extra copy of that. Absolutely not. You have it took me like 3 years, admittedly stopping and having to restart the entire process a couple of times. It took me like 3 years to go through everything for Case Blue and GB2, which was all mixed together, and which it was a lot to just determine what was there, what was missing, and all that stuff. So I will be not clipping your counters for you. But upon request, I will ship you my clipped copy with 3D printed counter trays of Case Blue, and I can keep the unpunched one that's not missing 33 counters. Not recommended, however. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be true, right? We're going to probably be doing more, like in terms of player numbers, we might be doing more wargaming here than anywhere else, with maybe two exceptions that I can think of. Those being Council World Expo and WBC, and that's about it. So, space is getting bigger as well. It felt very spacious last year, Brent, compared to previous years where it was kind of tight. So, again, we are at 40%. We will have an update on this as soon as the Noble Knight folks do the accounting and I see how much came in. So, that typically happens roughly monthly, and it just happened not too long ago, so I don't expect it for another couple of weeks. Let's see. Let's pull that down. And then we can start talking about VUCA simulations. So, VUCA is a German wargame publisher, and they started out as Furor Teutonicus Games, which, as far as I know, only released one game, and that game is not showing right now. Crossing the Line, Aachen 1944. Now, I've got this one, but there's been multiple printings of this. It's reasonably well thought of, but apparently, at least the early printings have some significant issues. That said, the components are really nice. There's a mounted map board. You've got oversized counters, pre-rounded counters. That's really nice. Most VUCA stuff, if not all, has pre-rounded counters, which is always nice. I like rounded counters, but I'm even happier when somebody else does the work, right? Danny, no, this might happen. But that said, there will be a delay of about 3 years before he gets it, if that's the case. So there has been talk of ASL returning to Origins in a non-sponsored by multi-man capacity, but I'm not really confident that that's going to happen. I think that MMP is just really not interested in participating in major broad spectrum conventions like Origins anymore. I will be delighted to be contradicted by anyone from MMP on that matter, but I don't think that that's the case. They have not been there in a long time. I'm not sure if they were ever there as Multi-Man Publishing, but I do remember them being there as the Gamers at one point, and I remember that because A, I met Dean for the first time, B, I bought stuff from them, and I bought, I don't know, like 20 or 30 counter trays, which are indistinguishable from what we now call GMT counter trays that I took me years to go through. So, all right. So Michael Karlowski says that Crossing the Line is fabulous. This is an interesting topic. It's West Front. It's the fighting around Aachen, and we can actually see the map here. Here's Aachen itself. There's some pretty ferocious fighting, and I haven't played this, but I have played games on this topic. Off the top of my head, pretty close in not in map scale so much, or unit scale for that matter. But in terms of topic, Hurtgen Hell's Forest from Decision, the Goss game, is on a related topic. And there's some ferocious fighting around Hurtgen Forest here that goes on for quite a long time. But it's a gorgeous map, as I have not seen anything hideous from VUCA personally. And I'm reasonably sure that they actually haven't done anything that's actually unattractive. Everything that they have done to me is pretty attractive. I will have comments about some of the counter design in a bit here, though. So, all right. So, as Brant says, at one point there was a requirement from the Gamma team, the leadership, that runs the convention, that if you were running anything in the Wargame HQ, which is in the big dealers hall, it had to be sponsored or connected to somebody who was selling stuff in the vendors hall. That is, on the one hand, I understand. I think I can understand why such a policy would be implemented for the sake of encouraging vendor participation. At the same time, for the hobby, that policy is dumb. So I am very pleased to observe that policy is no longer in place and the Wargame HQ can do whatever they want. And it's not like that was not, breached ever anyway. It certainly was. So, as Robert O. mentions, there is an update kit for older printing owners of Crossing the Line. I believe we will see multiple versions here. English First Edition, this is the one that was published by Furor Tectonicus. And then the VUCA one is the one that I've got. That's the VUCA Simulations one, which they were kind enough to send me, and I haven't done anything with it. It was dumb. No, actually, I don't agree. Right across High Street from the, I'm trying to think exactly where it is. I want to say it's across from the convention center. It's on the other side of High Street. It's called Mikey's Late Night Slice. Very credible New York style pizza. Is it the best New York style pizza? Experts don't think so, but it is nevertheless very good, and I like it a lot, so I'm happy to eat there. I ate there multiple times last week. One nice thing is they're open at 11 p.m., so I can I'm hungry, it's 11 p.m. I can go and get 2 slices of pizza, and that's like plenty of food. They're big slices of pizza. And if at some point, we should probably do a Dining at Origins show. Maybe we'll do that at some point, but it's too late for this year. Because there's a lot of good food opportunities. There's the Hyatt Food Court. There's there's North Market, which is kind of a block away. You can't really see it from the convention center, so you got to know it's there. But if you exit the convention center onto High Street and then look at the other side of the street and go that way, like half a block later, you will see North Market, and it's like an old style market. It's not particularly similar to Cleveland's West Side Market. It's more a place where you go to eat rather than to do your grocery shopping. Although you could do that too. I will demand that anybody playing with my copies of Alliance and/or Congress of Vienna, which somehow I missed in the list, they wash their hands before handling my pieces. So, if they ate pizza. All right. So, and like I said, Gamma had reasons for doing this, but they were like internal reasons that weren't really helping anybody. There was a logic behind that rule, but it was still dumb. So, this is absolutely true. But And finding good New York, in my opinion, New York style pizza is one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult style of pizza to get right. Mikey's Late Night Slice does a very credible job, in my opinion. All right. All right. Yeah, not anymore. Mikey's Late Night Slice pizzas are like $6 or $8 or something like that, but it is a big thing. A lot of times people's schedules don't like merge enough to like everybody go gets dinner together. So everybody like gets food brought in and stuffs it in their face in 3 minutes. That's kind of my personal style of dining at Origins, is just getting it done as quickly as possible. Anyway, I have okay, so I have not had New Haven style pizza, so I can't really speak to that. I don't know what Steubenville style pizza is. I do know what Sandusky style pizza is. It is pizza with sauerkraut on it, and I would try that, but it sounds gross, and I say that as somebody who likes sauerkraut, and I would be unwilling to pay to conduct that scientific experiment. So, anyway, moving on from Crossing the Line, and this is a 2019 release, and I think in 2020, the name of the company changes from Furor Teutonicus to VUCA Simulations. Next up, this is another 2020 release. This is one that I was like instantly like, oh, this looks interesting. I would like to check this out. And I have never seen a copy for sale. It shows up at Noble Knight and it's gone instantaneously. It doesn't go for absurd money to my recollection, but I guess we'll find out in a minute. So this is about, it's a Tetsuya Nakamura game, and it is 7 Years' War. It's a point-to-point, I think I have a map image here. I don't have a map image, but I do have a image of the components. I believe this to be digitally composited because these look like old Avalon Hill dice to me, and I'm pretty sure those are not included in the game. But it's a point-to-point game. There are cards. I have a hunch this is card-driven, but I'm not sure that I could do it. Of course, because it's the year that I didn't go there. I like anchovies too. I do not particularly like anchovies on pizza. David Thompson. David, thanks for stopping by. I will look forward to seeing you as well at Origins. Dave Poirier bought a copy from John Longshore. Sweet. That is fantastic. Justigard is not a fan. He says it's weirdly ahistorical, which I'm prepared to believe, but, you know, a lot of these games can be. And if this is the kind of game, if like the gameplay loop in this is what I think it is, which means it's going to be somewhat similar to your Paths of Glory or your For the People or something like that, and maybe it isn't, then those can tend to swing ahistorically. I can say that. I have been known to request actual anchovies on top of my Caesar salad, but I don't like it on pizza. I think it's weird on pizza. Then again, maybe they're just using crappy anchovies at the pizza place. That's because nobody orders it. That's possible. I do like ham on pizza, but I do not like pineapple on pizza. I think it's weird. I don't like the flavor combination. Somebody else does. Cool. I don't need to eat it. No problem. All right. Across the Bug River, Volodymyr Volinsky, 1941. So this is Operation Barbarossa, East Front. Do I have an image of... I do not. I do not have an image of this, but I would like to at least display the counters and or the map. So let's take a look at this image. All right. This is not the greatest resolution I've ever seen, but I think you can get the sense that the map looks nice, and you can get a sense for a pretty standard like counter layout style that VUCA seems to use. They tend to put the factors on the counters into boxes that are round or hexes or squares or something like that, and those mean something. And I haven't found, because the counters are also typically larger than half an inch, I don't normally have a problem with readability on these particular counters. So actually, if anybody else is coming to Origins, pipe up in the comments. It's in Columbus, Ohio. It starts on Wednesday and runs through Sunday. I will be there through late-ish Saturday, personally, from Wednesday. But I tend to usually bail for Sunday because it's just it's everybody packing up. Unless I'm going to do last-minute shopping, and by that time, my money is invariably gone. So. I am out of money by that point, and I'm looking forward to seeing my wife again and going sleeping in my own bed and crapping in my own toilet. So, all right. So, Great Crisis. What are we at here? We are in across the Bug River, and there's been some video on this, and this is pretty well regarded. As I think you can see by the price at Noble Knight, and even on Geek Market, we're looking at 200 euros for the sole copy that is available from somebody in Germany. So Brand has 6 games running Sunday morning. I mean, if you want to maximize your Origins experience, you should be staying for Sunday. I've had the maximal Origins experience. This is my 30th friggin' Origins. So Todd Rolser will be there. He will be running Holland 44, changing from Salerno 43 from last year, as I recall. Oh, this has not been the case in a long time, Mr. Beeler, I'm afraid. Now it is all electronic. There used to be an attendant, and the attendant would go off shift at midnight, and you could just drive out and then drive back in and get a new ticket. That hasn't been the case for at least 15 years and maybe as long as 20. There are other cheats that you can use if you're going to be there for several days. I will probably be parking in that garage because it is, to me, the most convenient. There are 2 convenient garages, but unless you are staying in the Hyatt or one of the hotels on Nationwide, which I am, you're probably better off on the Goodale garage, which is like right next to the end of the convention center that all the gaming happens in. So that is your best bet for parking. All right, John Favaro. will be attending. Make sure you stop by and say hi. Todd says Normandy 44 was last year. Salerno was 2 years ago. He is, of course, correct. Brant will be the person that looks, if you come over to the Wargames HQ area and then look for the most disheveled, frazzled-looking individual in the entire zone, that will be Brant. So, because he is doing exactly this. So, oh, Dave Poirier is going to be there too. Awesome. Dave, you must stop by and say hello as well. All right, so moving on from Across the Bug River, which I don't have and haven't played and don't know a whole lot about, other than that it's East Front, so it's kind of attractive, and it is pretty well regarded. Designed by Christoph Biernacki. Next up is Operation Theseus, Gazala 1942. Now, some friends of mine have played this one. This is a Dirk Blenneman design, and this is the Formations series. We have a image of the map here. I mean, it's a desert map, so, and the resolution's not that great, but it is, I've seen it in person. It is a very attractive map, and my buddies who were playing it said, this is terrific. So if we go to the counters, we can once again see, get a sense of the typical counter design from VUCA. These are maybe not quite as big. They're probably a little big, without busting something out, it's hard, and measuring it, it's hard to say. These are, I think, bigger than 9/16. I'm sure there's some metric measurement for these counters, but I don't know that. So they're bigger than 9/16 and maybe a little smaller than 5/8. So that's my rule of thumb for these. They're probably pretty close to 9/16, to be completely honest. Perry Sparopoulos, thanks for stopping by. Ray Musselman will be there. That's fantastic. It says parking over south of the fire station on Nationwide is only $5 for 12 hours. I hate that parking lot, though. Particularly if you are going to the convention part of the convention, because it's a long walk just to get into the hotel, and then you walk across the Sky Bridge and get to the convention center and walk all the way to the end of the convention center. It is cheaper. I am not that broke. I will park in the Hyatt garage. Oh, Gumball Machine. Brant, I was looking for Noble Knight dice for you for the Gumball Machine. I'll bring whatever I can. I might actually bring you some special dice for the Gumball Machine. We'll see. Anyway, Operation Theseus, Gazala 1942, North Africa game, also pretty well regarded, and we can see that this is not going for tons and tons and tons of money, however, which is great. It does say it's a reimplementation of Triumphant Fox, which is an old moments in history game, and somebody might have mentioned that up in the chat here. 2010 sounds really late for that. You might be right, don't get me wrong, but that seems like very late for that. Stigler just played New Bern with somebody yesterday. That's fantastic. Aaron Dennis, thanks for stopping by. If you're not staying at the hotel, then it's completely justified for them to charge for parking. He better be there. I expect him to at least show up. There is a good pizza place in Columbus called Adriatico's, but it is not New York style, emphatically not New York style pizza. It's kind of its own thing. I've actually never had that style of pizza anywhere else. It's down by Ohio State. It's not convenient for Origins attendees. So, all right. So moving on from Operation Theseus. We're going to get to this one later. That's actually open more than once now. All right. Chase of the Bismarck. Now we're getting into 2022. This is a Patrick Gebhardt and Jack Green design. And this is pretty neat looking. A lot of people seemed to be very interested in this. And if we look at the map, and again, sorry, I did search for good map images and didn't find any for some of these games. You've got screens to keep your information private. You've got this search map. I want to say this kind of functions like a double-blind game. It is a two-player game. I don't know how solitaire-friendly it is. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It is about hunting down the Bismarck. But there is a tactical part of the game as well. And there is a battle board. Am I seeing the battle board? This might be the battle board. What we see at the top of the screen here might be the battle board. Okay, so there is Detroit style pizza at Jet's Pizza, which is, I like Jet's Pizza a lot. It is not good for me to eat in quantity. Let me put it that way. But the Jet's Pizza is in the food court over at the Hyatt, and that is very solid Detroit style pizza. As far as I can recall, the only good Chicago style pizza option in Columbus is Giordano's, which is up by Polaris, which is not also... I mean, you could drive to it, but it is not a convenient location for Origins attendees either. All right. It does look better than your average D&D GM screen. Eric Goebel likes Chase the Bismarck. Marty goes to a lot of conventions already, and I can completely sympathize with him on this, where he just doesn't have enough time for more conventions. So... Jonathan Dyer says that Jack Green did the hunt side of the game and Patrick Gephardt did the combat part of the game, which is interesting. I did not realize that. This is another one that I don't have, and I wouldn't mind having. But there are also we'll point out the ones that are like really I really kind of want as we get to them. Marty prefers smaller cons, not all of which are super small. I mean, WBC is not that small. In fact, it's not small at all. It draws several thousand people, as I recall. It's not size Origins, but it's not tiny. Donnerschlag, Escape from Stalingrad. I've got this one. Also haven't played it, but it's gorgeous. Do I have a... Well, here's a picture of the map with the pieces. It does have cards. It's kind of an activation-based system, and I think there are other games that share this system as well, but I could be wrong about that. They're listing digital implementations. That's interesting. All right, so this guy, mounted map once again. Once again, also the counters. I guess we'll pull up these Soviets. You could see that there are colored boxes around the factors on the counters. And again, I find the typeface and everything else to be generally pretty easy to read. You will notice the center nibs, which I don't like, but I've got a potential solution for that. And their games tend not to have 1 billion counters, but there are exceptions to that too, and we'll get to those. Christopher Smith says if you have Donnerschlag, you need the update kit. Marty says that other than WBC, every other con he goes to is 100 or less, but okay. I have no idea. I haven't actually seen you at a con other than WBC in a while, so... All right, John Favaro says that Chase of the Bismarck is one of his 2 VUCA titles, really amazing components. Justigard mentions that the update kit for Donnerschlag is like $5. You do kind of need it, I think. Hexy, thanks for stopping by. Dealers Hall closes... what is being responded to here? Oh, for Sunday night options. Yeah. The one place, Sunday night, that's reliably open till 10, 11, even midnight is Jet's Pizza in the Hyatt food court because they do delivery service for the entirety of downtown. So even like at Buckeye Game Fest, which there's a lot less people in the facility, they're still open quite late. So if all else fails, you can go to Jet's Pizza, even on Sunday, I'm pretty sure. And if that doesn't work for you, then maybe go across the street to Mikey's Late Night Slice. At that hour, there are going to be options, but you might have to leave the facility for said options. All right. So moving on from Donnerschlag, here's another one that I have, and this looks really good. This is 1914 Nach Paris by Bertrand Meunier, who sounds very French, but I don't know that I would bet money on that because I don't know for sure. Do I have a picture? Yes. So this is the whole map. I think this is the whole map. This is a large game. I want to say it's 3 maps. We'll verify that right here. And I've got this one too. And this is probably, of the VUCA games that I've got that I would like to get to the table, this is probably at the top of that list because of interest in the topic more than anything else. It's still in print. It's fairly expensive, but it is also a huge game too. If we have, And once again, you can see the, the factors on the counters here. World War I topic. These smaller counters are more like half-inch counters, although they might still be a little bit bigger. The larger unit counters are, again, a little bigger than, I think, 9/16. We'll be talking Rob Johnson. We will get to this because that's on the list. So Christoph says it's 4 maps, but there's 2 big maps and 2 smaller maps. Much like Stalingrad 42, actually, where there's 2 full-size maps and 2 half-size maps. So it's 4 maps, but it's the space of 3 maps. Something like that. And Vince Ree says that this is his favorite VUCA title. And Stuart really liked Knock Paris. But they didn't play the whole campaign, but small scenarios were really satisfying. That's excellent. Yeah, I really want to play this. Like I said, I'm very interested in it topically. And it's totally gorgeous. And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll do this for Winterfest next year or something like that. We can get a little look at the map here. Just, I don't know who's even doing the map art for VUCA, but whoever it is, they're doing a really good job. I don't know. Jeff Beeler asks if Knock Paris is the signature VUCA game. I would imagine that it isn't. Just because they've done a lot more games on like World War II East Front topics or even West Front topics. So just in that sense, probably not, but maybe they don't have a signature game. This is, however, one of the games from VUCA that I am most interested in, and that also carries over to this projected sequel that is kind of stalled right now for lack of playtesting help. So, and then this, what is this? This is Verdun. Look at that. Just gorgeous, gorgeous map art. And let's see. And there's a lot of counters here too, as you can tell. It's 10 counter sheets of pre-routed counters. So it's a lot. Very, very promising looking game. Before we get to Red Strike, what I think we will do is hear from our good friends at Noble Knight Games. And next up, because we might be a minute talking about Red Strike, because this is even bigger than 1914 Knock Paris. So let's hear from Noble Knight. Take it away.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, big thanks to Noble Knight Games, the official sponsors of the Counter Clipping Show, and don't forget the affiliate link in the video description. And you will eventually. There is no way to cheat the contest, the giveaway, but it will come faster if you use that affiliate link. All right, so moving on to Red Strike, which is a 2023 release by Yves Rattel. Now, this is. I don't have this one either, and the reason is when it came out, I'm like, wow, that's very impressive looking from like a physical perspective, and I believe it might even be in a 4-inch box. The box is enormous, and it comes with an absolute crap ton of stuff. It's based on an adaptation of the classic Gulf Strike and Aegean Strike system from Victory Games and legendary designer Mark Herman, and there are other Strike games coming from VUCA, including Gulf Strike 2. And I think there's a couple other ones in the pipeline as well. This is 1989, Cold War goes hot, NATO versus Warsaw Pact, and it is enormous and visually stunning at the same time. We can't really get a sense of that from that picture, which is not great. My picture is too much glare. Get rejected from Board Game Geek. Let's see if we can find something that's a little more. Here's the campaign game. So you can see that the main map area is like a 4-map area or 2-map area, but there's like some off-map display material as well, and I'm not really sure how that works. You've got all of these. These look like airbase holding boxes or something like that. Indeed they do. And I know that Mo has played this, and a bunch of other people have played this. And as Stag Limit says, please do hit the like button if you haven't done so already. I I think if there's a signature game, it might be Red Strike. It might be, because this hit like a friggin' meteor when it arrived, because it's so big. It's apparently really well designed, and it's absolutely stunningly attractive. All right, so Eric Goebel says that Knock Paris seemed daunting at first, but after the first couple scenarios, everything clicks. It's not really a sequel, but it's, you know, another game using that system. All right, Alexander, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. One task force at the first Circle DC has to be the heaviest box you ever had to carry back home on an airplane. Wow, how about that? Mounted player aids. Gulf Strike is in the works. Mark, thanks for stopping by. I am definitely looking forward to that, and that is a definite pickup from... because, you know, I figured that there would be a new edition of Gulf Strike. You know why I projected that? Because I bought the old one. So inevitably a new version is in the works. But I'm on board for that. So that's cool. Mark Hodgkinson found it unplayable. This does seem to be at variance from many other people's stated experiences. From on Red Strike specifically, but I am not disputing your experience with this game, Mark Hodgkinson. Sean Sullivan points out that Steve Dole just did some Red Strike videos. Steve's father passed away pretty recently, so Father's Day was this past weekend, so our condolences to Steve and his family about that. That is something I have not yet had to deal with, thankfully. And it's the designer's first credited game, which is... something. I mean, he's naturally gifted or something, or he had plenty of help. Either of those things is possible, and maybe both of those things are true. But if Yves Rattel manages to knock out hits like this on a regular basis, then he's definitely a designer that we are going to need to hear more from regularly. So, now that said, this is a Cold War goes hot, hypothetical type of situation. And that's why I passed on it, because I'm like, I got plenty of this kind of stuff. And as good as this looks, I can't like buy everything, right? So I passed on this one. I passed on Air and Arbor, and I regret both of those decisions. But I am probably at peace with that regret at this point. That said, Gulf Strike 2, I'm all over. That's no problem. Mo's got some video on it. That's true. You will definitely see some video coverage from me from Origins. However, usually what happens is that the upload bandwidth in the hotel is garbage, and the convention center. So I don't know that you'll see live video from Origins, depending on what our technical facilities look like for this year. But there will definitely be a dealer's room walkthrough. There will definitely be additional video as well. So, all right. And I guess you've worked on it for like 10 years, so that might explain why it is pretty polished. The post-Cold War game that was released, I believe you're talking about new Cold War. We'll get to that when we get to the upcoming stuff. So, moving on from Red Strike, I want to see what people are charging for it. Noble Knight wants $375. Somebody wants $195 on eBay, but who knows what that is. Somebody's selling it on Amazon for $179. It is an enormous game, so bear that in mind. So you can get it. It's going to be expensive, but it was going to be expensive anyway. All right, next up is Task Force by Junichiro Suzuki. This is Carrier Battles in the Pacific, and it is a scenario-based game that has, I think, a map for each scenario. There's 10 scenarios in the game. So I don't really know a whole lot about Task Force here. But if we look at its... rating, it's got an 8.0. I mean, that's worth exactly as much as you think it's worth, but that rating, but still. And very handsome trade dress that the general cover art and presentation that VUCA's doing is also really strong. Artist Pablo Bezerque. Bezerk? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, to be honest. Alistair says there's supposed to be a Falklands game based on the Red Strike system coming at some point. That could potentially be interesting too. I do feel like the one game I currently have on the Falklands conflict is probably sufficient, but I can be tempted too, so you never know. Yeah, and this is of course true, right? And we've seen a lot of this, right? A lot of these hypothetical games are now like past hypotheticals. It's kind of a weird situation, to be completely honest. Moving on, though, from Task Force to Traces of War. This is by designer Tetsuya Nakamura. I've got this one. It is gorgeous. This is the actual image of the map. And I'm not sure how well you could see this on the screen. I saw this on a table, and I talked to the people who were running it, who were playing it at Compass Expo a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh man, this looks great, and it sounds great too. So I grabbed it. There's now a companion game called Traces of Hubris. And just really, really, really attractive stuff here. Don't think I have pictures of the counters though, but when we see the counters, you will see that they are very similar basic layout to all of the other VUCA simulations counters that we have seen. My one Falklands war game is Goose Green, actually. Yeah, I hope he's getting paid well. That's all I have to say. So Traces of War is actually a re-implementation of this game, Manstein's Last Battle, from Game Journal, from, where was it? Mark Hodgkinson mentions 1982. Well, apparently he's talking about something else. Yeah, and we've actually played a little bit of Goose Green too. Not enough, unfortunately, but one of my things on my to-do list is play more TCS, so I've got a bunch of them. I might as well. I'm curious. I mean, that's not that bad looking. 2012 Game Journal. The cover's not that great, but Traces of War is gorgeous. I can tell you that. Also Pablo Berserk too. And once again, I think if I zoom over here, you can get a really good sense of what the map looks like close up and what the counters look like. Visually, just an absolutely stunning game. And Traces of Hubris, which I have not seen other than in photos, looks just as good. All right, so moving on to Napoleon's Fateful March. Now, I believe we are in the part of BGG's listing where they will list things that are out, but they're not actually out yet. This one, I believe, is actually out. And we can see that it's going for anywhere from 75 to 90 bucks. It is a point-to-point game that kind of reminds me from like a map perspective, at least in terms of the style that we see here, of Maria and Friedrich. I don't know that the game is mechanically similar to those games at all, but we also have a follow-up to this coming. And I know it says 2025, but I don't know if it's coming out this year or not. This is the follow-up by Brian Berg, Asklev Hansen. And this is that whole campaign in Germany. So this is potentially very interesting too. Now, that said, I'm not the world's biggest fan of point-to-point maps. There's nothing wrong with point-to-point as a map style, and there are some games and topics that it actually is better for. But I don't know that this is, even though the topic is fairly attractive, I have several games on this topic already, including the Europa, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's from Europa Simulazioni. They did a game on the invasion of Russia. I've got Highway to the Kremlin 2. I've got at least one other game on Napoleon's in 1812. So I didn't feel like I really needed to investigate this, but it's a handsome looking game, and it does have a quite good rating on BGG, again, for whatever that is worth. All right, so I mean, you aren't wrong about this, Jeff Beeler, because Goose Green is a very tightly focused game. Dave Poirier says this is his first VUCA game, very approachable. It looks very approachable. There's a Spain game too. I don't know that I have that on this list yet, because it's not listed on BGG yet. Stuart only played a few turns, but he said it was amazing. Really makes you feel a logistical squeeze as Napoleon. Now, I'm willing to play this game. Don't get me wrong. It's just a question of what I'm gonna pick it up. Dan Bullock holds Napoleon's fateful march in very high regard, apparently, and that's worth something. Dan's got good taste. Stuart says that Justiguard has the best video on this game, which I'm also prepared to believe. Austin Reitiger says 1812 is great, solid hidden movement and orders game. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. For orders mechanics anyway. Hidden movement depends on the execution, but I'm in favor of the idea on the face of it. Logistics drives the campaign. That's also really good. Christoph prefers Traces of Hubris over Traces of War. I believe this is true. I don't remember whether it's a folio or a mini, but I believe this is true. They're pre-rounded. You don't have to clip them. You don't have to do that. Now, if you don't like the sedatives, you got to deal with that. But they're not there, and there aren't as many counters as you might. There aren't 260 or 280 counters as there would be on a regular counter sheet. There are fewer because they are pre-rounded. Now, emphasis on logistics. I am all over that too. Anyway, very promising looking game. Now, here's another super promising looking game, and this is not out yet, even though BGG list is 2024. And I know because I am monitoring this quite closely. I don't know what the reference of the title is to, In Fours to Heaven. This is 1939 Invasion of Poland, which is a considerably more interesting topic than a lot of people seem to think it is. Here's a playtest map. This is not the final map, but as you can see, it looks great. And it's a big game. This is I don't remember how many maps this is, but this is not a one map game. It is a large game. Maybe the largest game we've ever seen on the 1939 invasion of Poland. That's possible. Do we have a hex scale? 1 hex is 10 kilometers. So yeah, this will be the biggest game on that topic. The only competition I can think of it would be First to Fight / Case White, the Europa games, and I think those are like 2 maps, but the GDW maps are a little bit smaller. And those are 16 miles to the hex, as I recall. So this is 10 kilometers to the hex. This will be the largest game on the invasion of Poland, which is a more competitive gaming experience than a lot of people might think. I am really excited about this. I do have a couple games on the invasion of Poland already. I've got First to Fight, which is the revision of Europa's Case White, and I've got Poland Defiant from Revolution Games. I'm pretty sure it's Revolution Games, and that's pretty good. But that's a one map game. That's going to be much more approachable than this. But this is right up my alley here, man. So it looks great too, but I mean, everything from VUCA has looked great so far. So if somebody let me know, send me an email or something if they release something that looks crappy, but I haven't seen it yet. And as you could see, these are, they put the counters on wooden blocks. So I imagine the game will not actually come with that, but this is all playtest stuff for now. Meandering Mike says that it's from a Polish poem about the invasion. I figured it was something like that, a song or a poem or a book title or something like that. But yeah, no, this is great, and I am 100% on board whenever this gets released. I saw people talking about this on one of the Facebook groups, and I'm like, ooh, what's that? And then they said in Force to Heaven. I'm like, what's that in reference to? And then I started looking at the map, and I'm like, oh, this is Poland, 1939. Ooh. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And map looks just amazing. So very much looking forward to this. We have already mentioned Traces of Hubris, which is Case Blue, pretty much. This is... it doesn't say. Do I have a... Actually, I do. Here is the map, and I think this is one map. I don't have this one. I've got Traces of War, but not this one. Traces of Hubris. BGG says 2024, I believe. Yeah, 2024. So plus or minus a year, that's about right. You can usually assume that the BGG date, publication date, is accurate plus or minus a year most of the time. This is a digital game, though, is it not? Unless we're talking about a different WDS. But again, Tatsuya Nakamura design, excellent designer. Game looks very impressive. Looks just as good as, this is from the playtest map, actually. Looks just as good as Traces of War, to be completely honest about it. I would love, but you can kind of see from this, kind of what we're looking at here. You've got Rostov down here. You've got Stalingrad over here. Here's the Caucasus. And you have the axis of invasion here that the Germans will be coming from. So very impressive looking game. And if you would like a Case Blue, a game on the topic of Case Blue that's somewhat more manageable and approachable than Case Blue, this might be one to look at. Now, this is not to poo-poo the stuff from Wargame Design Studio, don't get me wrong. But it is a digital game, so. All right. Now, this is the Mirages series. This is the same series that Dirk Blenneman design that the Aachen game is a part of, okay? Now, this one, though, is North Africa. And if we look at this, if we look at the cover, it actually, unfortunately, it's not very clear, but sorry. Compass, Brevity, Battle Axe, and Scorpion. So this is a whole bunch of 1940, 1941 North African Desert War stuff. It is an operational game, which is, my bag anyway. And also looks quite impressive. This is also supposedly a 2024 release. Is this out? This is out. Runs anywhere between $75 and $100, it looks like. And as we can see, the counters look great. The map looks great. Everything looks great. I don't know if we have, this has like more than one map, I think. That might actually not be true. This looks like one map to me. And that's the kind of thing you could do with these 4 operations is put it all on one map because they all happen in more or less the same area. Alistair mentions that Wargame Design Studio, that's WDS, has their summer sale, 20% off on almost all their games. Also, there's some kind of promo at Noble Knight right now for buy one, get one free, but I don't know the details on that. We might look into that to talk about in a bit. So, 1 map, 4 battles. There you go. All right, and Christophe de Klerk says it's a solid game. So this Formations series, which they don't really list, but it's more or less at least the same system as Across the Bug River, Crossing the Line, Aachen 44, and Operation Theseus. So if you like that system, and I believe this is not the chip pulse system, and they say it's also suitable for solitaire play. So potentially worth a look. There's no really great photos of it, however. This is the best I could do. And you can see here, you got 1 map, looks like 3, maybe 4 counter sheets, and a bunch of player aids and a rule book. So, nice looking game. This is not out yet. I'm pretty sure this is not out yet. Imperial Elegy, the Imperial World at War. Card-driven game blending diplomacy, warfare, and statecraft. And I think we are at this point into the games that are not yet out. You can see, though, that Seminole Catastrophe, I don't know that that's the game anymore. Now it's Imperial Elegy. So it is an upcoming release. But the interesting thing is 1850 to 1920, I'm really intrigued. This is not necessarily making it an automatic purchase, but I'm intrigued to see what they can do with this kind of time frame. That might be pretty interesting. So, Danny, thank you once again for letting everybody know about all that. I really do appreciate your doing that. So, this is like on my radar is something that I would kind of like to see what they do with, but it's not out yet, so I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time fretting about it. Here is Wagram 1809, Formation Command number 1, designed by Jeff Noble. And this is a new design, as far as I can tell. And this is, well, it says 2025. This is not out yet. Nor do I think... Conflict Simulation Engineering. That's interesting. Okay. That's what it says in the lower corner there. And we can see... this is the Danube River down here that's cutting across the southwest corner of the map. And the Battle of Wagram is going to happen up here between two very large French and Austrian armies. And Russians. There's Russians there too, as I recall. But it's a quite a big battle, and it is the culmination of Napoleon's 1809 campaign, which is a topic of particular interest to me. So... Formation Command implies that it's, number 1 implies that it's going to be a series, so I'm going to keep an eye on this too, but I don't really have a whole lot of information on it yet. So, Imperial Elegy has custom hats for the player. That would be amusing, actually. All right, so this was mentioned right up front. This is New Cold War. This is designed by Andoni Uribe and Igor Plaza, neither of whose work I am familiar with. But they're doing an interesting job promoting this. This is a card-driven game, most important geopolitical events from 1989 to 2019. How relevant that is to 2025, I'm not even sure. But you can see from the map here that it's pretty much the entire planet. I think there will be people that look at this and want to compare it to Twilight Struggle. And I think this map design probably reflects the fact that they would rather people not assume it's just another Twilight Struggle, because we've seen a bunch of those already. But again, interesting. This kind of modern geopolitical stuff is something I'm generally interested in, but I don't necessarily know if I will be picking this up or not. And this is either out. No, this is out. This is, I think, their latest release. Brant says there were 2 sessions of New Cold War at Buckeye Game Fest. Hopefully we'll see it at Origins. Players 8 had one, and some other dudes had another one across the room. John Favaro says Wagram is not out yet. There were no Russians. It's all Austrians. Wagram is an interesting battle, though, too. It's not my favorite Napoleonic battle. That would be Asper-Nessling, much of which actually takes place on that map, too. Although I think it's down... I think it's a little bit downriver, the Asper-Nessling crossing, I think. I'd have to look at the map closer. And it is their latest release. So this is pretty intriguing looking. I do think that people will look at this and think it looks either like Twilight Struggle or a lot like Mr. President. And I'm a little bit... My thought at the moment, based on my limited information right now, is that it's probably not that similar to either game. Molotov Cockatiel says, much more complex than Twilight Struggle. That doesn't bother me at all. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like out at this point. Interesting looking game, and I'm hopefully I'll get to see it at Origins and actually decide whether I need to buy it or not. Hopefully not, but guess what that means. All right, so 1813, the struggle for Germany. We've already talked about this. There's really not a lot of information about it that I know yet. It's a follow-up to the Napoleon's Fateful March, Napoleon 1812. This is the other game on VUCA's pre-order right now, Against the Iron Ring. This is Operation Uranus. Operational simulation portraying Don River Basin from November to December 42. So Operation Uranus? Yeah, pretty much. So here's the map, and, shockingly, it's an extremely attractive map. Masahiro Yamazaki is the designer of this, a very eminent designer as well, whose work is worth taking note of. I'm all in favor of digital adaptations of this stuff. less so for traditional war games, where I kind of like the tactile experience, where that's like an important consideration for me since I've been doing it since I was 10. But for like a geopolitical game or something like that, if I would honestly, those kinds of games that like are designed as video games, I have a couple of them and they suck. I have much more interest in the game design capabilities of Gene Billingsley or whoever did New Cold War. Who did New Cold War, actually? Andoni Orive and Igor Plaza. I am much more confident in their abilities as game designers than I am in the people that design, say, Democracy 4, which I have digitally and which is a turd. But this is another one that is definitely worth a look at. Against the Iron Ring. And this is it says re-implementation. And I think to some extent that's true, but I'm not sure to what extent that's true. I've seen this before. I've never owned it or played it, obviously. And then Paulus' Sixth Army that appeared in Six Angles. And this was Six Angles as well, actually. And Six Angles, a Japanese publisher, has done some pretty impressive stuff graphically, too. So I'll be keeping an eye on Against the Iron Ring as well. As an East Front thing, it is attractive to me. Now, this is the game that was mentioned earlier as the quote-unquote sequel to 1914 Nach Paris. This is 1916 Prelude to Blitzkrieg by designer Paul Hederer. And apparently this is on hold because he just can't wrestle up enough playtesters to get this thing playtested, which is goddamn unfortunate. So if anybody is interested in this, World War I, Eastern Front in Romania, I would love to see this thing get released. So reach out to VUCA or Paul Hederer and volunteer to playtest this thing. This is the latest update. Here's the October update. Playtesting slower than they thought. This is 6 months ago, 8 months ago. All right, he stopped development in the game. Yeah, he just needs more playtesters. I'm getting a bit of a mixed messages from these posts in this thread, I gotta tell you. But I would personally like to see this game get released. This was originally talked about as coming out from, I don't know if it was going to be GMT or not, but it was going to follow on from 1914 Offensive Outrance, which is a Mike Resch design, and then after 1914 Nach Paris came out, which covers the same topic pretty much over the same period, and it a very comparable map scale. It was decided to go with this system instead. Like I said, I'd really like to see this get published. All right. All right, Stigler says VUCA are the antithesis of that oversaturated look that was in vogue for a while. I think this look is still in vogue from certain publishers. I am also not a huge fan of publishers who decide they want a really, really high saturation on both the map and the counters. I think that is a problematic graphic design that results in a visually confused look. Off the top of my head, I'm only going to pick on, there's other publishers that this is true of. The game I'm thinking of is Company of Heroes Guadalcanal. This is the one of those games that I've played, and I couldn't figure out where the hex grid was. And I kept losing the counters. Now, maybe that's not true of every game in that series. I've only played the one. All right. The Iron Ring. Yeah, no, I vaguely remember this. And Brant's a big Mystara and Beckme guy, so I would expect that he remembers this very clearly. And this is true, right? It's true to say that large games present playtesting challenges that one might not have to worry about with smaller games. That's absolutely right. So as you can see, they've done a dynamite cover for it already. I'd really love to see it, but I'm not sure we're ever actually going to see 1916 Prelude to Blitzkrieg. I will, however, buy it if it is published. That I will say. How does it have an 8.2 already? And it's not even published. presumably, well, there's 6 ratings. I guess the floor on ratings is lower than I expected it to be. All right, so that was actually a bit faster than anticipated. So I do feel like VUCA is one of the more exciting publishers beginning to emerge in the wargaming space. Not all these publishers are necessarily new. Some of them, like Nuts Publishing, have been around for a while, but they're really just starting to get noticed in the U.S. I am generally in favor of that, and this is true of Japanese games too. So I'm delighted to have VUCA producing a lot of really solid looking games from Japanese designers in particular. I think that's fantastic. So Meandering Mike says that the campaign is what they need playtesting help for, and it's huge, and it should be, right? Chris K, thanks for stopping by. They also have a Shane Logan game in development, Modern Tactics Afghanistan. VUCA, I'm not really keeping my ear close to the ground on like development news that doesn't hit the pre-order pages. So, look at this. Mark Herman is looking for campaign playtesters for Army of the Potomac. I would highly recommend that folks go bother Mark at WBC about that. I got to play it at SD Hist in whenever that was, and I thought it was a great experience. So that was last year. So in general, the phenomenon of new games getting released at Origins it happens a lot less than it used to. There is a list that's probably going to be, usually there's a list in the convention booklet that will, be a list of new releases at Origins, but normally for war games, that's not necessarily, or for RPGs, to be honest. It's a lot of like general board games type of stuff. That is the stuff that is getting released at, special release at Origins, right? That said, there will probably be some stuff from GMT at Enterprise Games that maybe hasn't even shipped out to retail stores yet. So you might see stuff you'll see stuff that's new. But it isn't necessarily stuff inside of wargaming that is debuting at Origins. Now, that said, you should be checking on Enterprise Games, and you should check with Decision, because Decision should have some interesting stuff too. I have a shopping list, which does include a couple items from Decision and a couple items from GMT, so I'll be stopping at both of those places. I did most of my Chaosium shopping before Origins, so I'm good to go on that, but I'm reasonably confident there's at least one thing that I need to buy from them. And I will, I'm really not sure how much I'm going to buy from Studio 2 this year. I'm sure it will not be nothing. But I'm not really sure how much I'm going to buy because I need to, I'm kind of caught up for the most part, right? Also, just so you know, at the Wargame HQ, there will be a raffle on Sunday. You get a ticket into the raffle for every game you play at the Wargame HQ. And on Sunday, early afternoon is what it sounds like this year, there will be a bunch of games given away. And to be honest, you have to be there for the giveaway. You can't just absentee win something. But if you are there, and you have like played a couple of things, chances are very good you're going to walk away with something. So there are a couple things on this. Chaosium has been in attendance at Origins in the dealer's hall for the last several years, and they have a very nice booth. It's not enormous, but it's a nice booth, and they have all of their stuff. And often they'll have some oddities that they found in a warehouse somewhere, or they'll have some print-on-demand stuff from Johnstown Compendium or something like that. So it's worth checking out their entire area. I am pretty much I am totally caught up on RuneQuest. I am more or less caught up on Call of Cthulhu. I do need the Pendragon Game Master's Guide. I will 100% do a Dealer's Room walkthrough again. Yeah, I actually already have a hockey jersey, so I'm actually good. Raffle is at noon this year. Now, Chaosium will have a large quantity of events, let me put it a different way, because these aren't necessarily Chaosium productions. Call of Cthulhu in particular is a huge convention favorite, and there are always dozens, sometimes over 100 Call of Cthulhu events at Origins, and I would be shocked if that were not the case this year as well. I do also expect to see some Pendragon and some RuneQuest on the calendar as well. There are also almost always a couple of Traveler events on the schedule at RuneQuest, on the schedule at Origins as well. And I have even been lucky enough to participate in a couple of those, but there aren't that many of them, and they tend to sell out fairly quickly. That said, 2027, so not next year, but the following year, will be Traveler's 50th birthday, and Mongoose, if you're watching, I will personally be very disappointed if you do not come to Origins in 2027 for the 50th anniversary. Traveler was released at Origins in 1977 as the official release date. So I have confidence that Mongoose will do some cool stuff for the anniversary, and I certainly hope that they make it to Origins as well. And if they do, then who knows? Maybe I'll even run something. All right. Jeff Bieler asks, what is in the Chaosium stuff from the attic pile? Would be interesting to see. Oh, no, you're not going to see Ringworld, that's for sure. What you will see is, for example, H.P. Lovecraft's Dreamlands. This is one of the versions of the Dreamland stuff for Call of Cthulhu that they've done. This was out of print at the time. You're not going to see stuff like Ringworld or Panzer Pranks or something like that. Maybe I need to have a chat with the fine folks at Mongoose Publishing who have helped out this channel before. And I've mentioned that, and it's just been a while. When we did the 15th anniversary thing, they were a huge provider of giveaways, and I really do appreciate that. I think that Traveler has a good home at Mongoose Publishing, and I am generally happy with the direction that they have taken the game and the product lines. Very excited to see Singularity. I've actually already gone through most of the first book, but the first book is all set up. I'm curious to start seeing the actual adventure. I believe there's 4 books total. Maybe it's 3 books. I forget. So there will be a lot of stuff to give away. There's usually some shirts and stuff too. But Brant says they got three shipping boxes of stuff from GMT. They already had some other stuff, plus some stuff from Osprey and more. So that giveaway is worth going to. I am not being an obsessive collector on Call of Cthulhu personally. I mean, do I have quibbles? Yeah, of course I do, right? I mean, they have not done perfectly with everything. In fact, I think that Deep Night Revelation has some significant issues that I think it really needed another book of additional material helping you set that campaign up. So they have not done perfectly. They are not, demigods of some kind, but they are doing a great job. They love Traveler, and I really appreciate that and plan to continue to support them. I have picked up some more of the 2300 AD stuff that they have done for Mongoose Traveler 2nd Edition. In particular, Project Bayern is pretty cool. And I have the old one, the old Bayern adventure for the old 2300 AD. But hands down, I will take the Mongoose Traveler 2nd Edition system over the GDW house system of the original game. The setting, however, is really quite neat. So, well, yeah, also there was some talk about this on Blue Sky about the differences between we are now in the post-topic part of the show, folks. I am actually trying. I guess I'll talk about this a little bit. I'm actually going to probably try and make some adjustments to the show after Origins, just to kind of have a blocked times for certain things, like the show intro and the news segment and the bullshitting segment that usually happens at the end. And then, as a specified time for the topic as well. All right. So, Jeremy Crawford and somebody else just went over to whatever the company that is publishing Daggerheart, which is the Critical Role RPG. I have absolutely zero interest in that. Good luck to Critical Role and the people designing it, working on Daggerheart, and I hope lots of people have fun with it. I personally am not interested in it at all. Jonathan Dyer says the Traveler is a better fit for Mongoose than RuneQuest ever was. To be fair, I really feel like Mongoose has evolved substantially as a company since the time when they were doing RuneQuest. I actually own in print every edition of RuneQuest. Even RuneQuest First Edition, which I bought. I double checked what I got this for. Gotta find it on the shelf. This is RuneQuest First Edition. Now, I bought a print-on-demand copy of RuneQuest First Edition from Chaosium because I wanted it for research purposes. And then, I don't know, a month or two later, I saw this on eBay for $1.85. Which is what it's sold for. $1.85. It's not even, it's not mint, but it's not falling apart either. And it even came with the original Apple Wayne. So I don't think, however, that Mongoose did a particularly good job with RuneQuest. I think their second edition is considerably stronger than the first edition. The first edition, Mongoose RuneQuest 1, to me, moving to that from RuneQuest 3, which is a very powerful sort of toolbox fantasy set system, I felt like Mongoose's first edition was just crippleware. And the second edition is a big improvement. And then that second edition evolves into RuneQuest 6th edition, which was published by Design Mechanism before they lost the license. That game basically is now Mithras. All right. So Perfidious Albion asks how I like the new Twilight 2000 system. I do have the core box and the Game Master screen and nothing else. I have not played it. The materials are attractive. I have talked to a number of people who are old-time Twilight 2000 heads, and they all have significant problems with it, but there's nothing really wrong with it either. Okay, cool. You also got to bring me my games back from Buckeye Game Fest. Don't forget about that. I appreciate the snacking limit. It's not that it doesn't look interesting. When I say I am not interested in it, I am not saying that I think it looks bad. I'm saying I don't have unlimited bandwidth. I've got other directions in which I wish to take my fantasy role-playing stuff that are not the direction that Daggerheart has chosen to go. So that's just why I'm not interested in it. Brant says that Max from Slytherin will be there. By the way, none of the codes that they were giving away last year or the year before actually worked. I just want you to know that, Brant. So please, I will yell at them if you don't. I've played Dungeon Crawl Classic. It's a pretty fun game. Meandering Mike is watching Rings of Power. God bless you, Meandering Mike. Hunting through the Silmarillion, trying to figure out who is who. Unfortunately, they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, so you didn't have to do that. Most of the characters are just made up. All right. Outstanding. Christoph, it's looking like late next week or the week after. It will happen in June. It's just, and I am the delay here. It is not Dan in this case. There's just some I's that need to be crossed and T's that need to be dotted that haven't happened yet, and that is being worked on. So you are right to ask, but it will be soon. And I wanted to do it before Origins so that I could go to Origins without worrying about it. That's not going to happen because I leave not tomorrow, but the day after. So I cannot get the stuff that I need to do done between now and Wednesday. So remember that the bulk of the Silmarillion is first age and Rings of Power is second age. So there's that too. If you are going to get anything, if you want to read that material, then look at the Akalabeth in the Silmarillion. So, and I mean, there's plenty of like characters there. I'm just not really satisfied or happy with their treatment of most of the characters. Some of the characters, like, are characters who must have existed, like this Doran guy that they're talking to, and I like him. I like his wife, and I think the king is okay, but I don't know. I'm also hearing that the second season is generally better than the first, and I probably should finish watching the second season. So, I probably will. So, but I'm on the record on Rings of Power. I'm not a huge fan. So maybe this second season will change my mind, but I think that's unlikely. So, all right. I managed to watch the entire first season, which I did think had some good stuff in it, and I watched 2 or 3 episodes of the second season. And before I was just like dragged away to other stuff, and I haven't gotten back to it yet. So, the only thing that I finished, I started watching Alien Covenant. It's fucking terrible. I started watching, it's actually a really interesting example of what Ridley Scott is good at. He is an excellent director. He is very good at shot composition and stuff like that, but he has also clearly lost any ability that he may have had to understand and recognize decent writing, because the writing is atrocious. I am also a little irritated that they canceled Wheel of Time, which I thought was okay. I mean, I had gotten further in the books than they had gotten in the show, but I thought their representation of a lot of the book's ideas were actually pretty good. To be honest, I can sympathize nowadays with folks who decide to just make a decision. I am not watching a TV show until it is done, because it is going to get canceled. They announced the cancellation of Wheel of Time about a month ago, as I recall. So, I mean, love would be, I think, an overstatement of my position on it, but generally I thought it was pretty good. I thought they had some really interesting things in the third season. When they go to Rodian, for example, I thought that was really well handled. I haven't finished that season though. So, and I don't know if I will, because that's the end of it. That's lame. And apparently Rosamund Pike is pissed. And good for her. I think she should be pissed. I think it's a bad decision on Amazon's part to cancel the better of their 2 fantasy shows and keep the shitty one. So, and again, if anybody is enjoying Rings of Power, cool, good for you. But it is not working for me. So, the Modiphius game, that's interesting. I haven't really seen much traffic on the Dune RPG. No, that's not true. I do have the Modiphius Dune game, and I think I have everything but one product for it. And if they were going to be at Origins, I would probably pick that up. Fall of the Imperium is the one thing that I don't have. I don't know what the... Right, exactly. And I was like halfway through the season, and then they canceled it. And I'm like, well, shit, that kind of took all the gas out of the tank, didn't it? The oldest character in Middle-earth in the time of the Lord of the Rings is Círdan the Shipwright, who is actually born at Cuiviénen, the place where the elves awoke the first time. He is super, super, super old. So, Mark, thanks for stopping by. We'd like to get you back into Origins at one point, too, by the way. Well, I don't know. We'll see. And Rosamund Pike is great and perfectly cast in that particular role. I'm not sure I'm following you here, Ag Raid Day. Sandy P online store is up and running despite many people who didn't get crowdfunded. I don't know what that means. Yeah, also there's this weird thing between Elrond and Galadriel, and that's like not cool because he ends up marrying Galadriel's daughter. And I haven't seen Celeborn. I haven't finished the second season, but I haven't seen Celeborn at all. So he's not the only one. There's reference in somewhere to another elf with facial hair, but it is extremely rare. Glass Cannon is one of the very few RPG broadcast, like where it's a live play thing that I can actually watch. Okay. Okay. So this is hugely problematic. I am not sure what is going on with Sandy Peterson. So I am not commenting on this because I'm not a customer of Peterson games. Let me put it that way. But I know that they have some Kickstarters, and I know that they've been late. And if they're going out to like going to retail instead of going to backers, then that's a huge problem. So very, very, very questionable behavior. Okay. Mark Hodgson is trying to standardize fitting the library of Napoleonic battles games into the Napoleon's later campaigns. I would love to see this, actually. So I believe those are the variant rules with a somewhat bloodier resolution system. I would be curious to try that. I am pretty much okay with the rules that came with the game, but I wouldn't mind trying the variants. I don't know if well, I guess I have 14 minutes. Yeah, I'm not really happy about this, but I'm not a backer, so I am saying that as somebody with zero skin in this game. So, yeah, I've watched all of their Traveler stuff, which has been very good. I've watched a few other things. I've tried to watch some of their Pathfinder stuff, which didn't really work for me. But I honestly, I think that might have more to do with the material that they're using than I am with the people. Because to me, it's kind of, I watched the Traveler stuff and like got to know some of those people, and they therefore become a little more watchable for that reason. And I like that I could get into, and I've never managed to make that connection with say Critical Role or really anybody else. And it's not, Brant, thanks for stopping by. It's not like I've never watched any other live play role-playing stuff. I certainly have, but it's like an occasional thing where it's like, hey, somebody ran Dangerous Journeys, for example, and I had to watch that. I need to finish Breaking Bad. I never finished the first season. I probably got 4 episodes in. And what I saw was good. I just never finished it. So one of these days I will actually do that. But there's like a lot to go through. And I think I skipped the last season or last 2 seasons of The Sopranos too. I was religiously watching that for a while. And it was definitely good. Oh, Better Call Saul's supposed to be good too. So I have no idea. Currently I'm still really high on Andor. I have finished season 2. It was an absolutely incredible thing, and I may never watch Star Wars again other than rewatching Andor, because none of it is this good. So Seth was a gateway for me into Glass Cannon as well, because Seth was in the Traveler games that they did. So time is always the factor. I wonder if Seth's going to be at Origins again this year. That'd be cool if he was. I know he's been there before. I mean, he's got his own dice set from Q Workshop, I think, did the Seth Skorkowski dice set. I'm not that big of a fan of Q Workshop's dice, though, to be honest. So my wife has talked me into watching The Mandalorian. Okay, now I have seen the first season, I think, maybe the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I think there's 3 total. And I watched its first season episode, trying to remember which episode it was. And I'm having trouble remembering because it was not very good. And it was written by Dave Filoni, who loves Star Wars and has impeccable Star Wars credentials and is the mastermind behind most of the animated stuff, and really seems to get it. And that episode the two episodes that I watched were both dreadful. The dialogue was terrible. The Mandalorian has been cool. I liked parts of it, but it's uneven. And yeah, this is totally correct. I don't have time to watch a lot of stuff. So exactly, this is exactly the problem. Is they had some really strong ideas that they could have gotten, say 3 6-episode seasons out of, but there's clearly a lot of filler episodes in there. But on the other hand, it's better than the Boba Fett show, which was actively bad. So I have never seen Rick and Morty. I am vaguely aware that it exists. That's about all I can tell you. So my priorities right now are just prepping for the two things that I'm running at Origins, which are Alliance and Congress of Vienna. If anybody wants to stop by and check those out, please do. We can accommodate up to 7 players in Alliance, so there's going to be plenty of people to play in that game. And unfortunately, there's 2 sessions of Alliance and 1 session of Congress of Vienna. Alliance is running on... Alliance is running at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and then again at 1 p.m. on Thursday. And then this is my posted itinerary for Origins. Then I will be doing the 50 Years of Wargaming at Origins seminar at 6 p.m. on Thursday, the Charles S. Roberts Awards seminar at 7 p.m. on Friday, and then Congress of Vienna, which will be my last game. Probably not the last thing I do at Origins, but it will be the last game I'm running, which is at 10 a.m. on Saturday. So that is my personal itinerary. So yeah, the writing is just absolutely top tier. The writing, the acting, like everything about it is really good. There are scenes that I think are going to stay with me for a very long time from that show. So, I mean, there's lots of fun Easter eggs in all these shows, right? And that's fine. But if the show is about the fan service, which has been the case with some of the Mandalorian material, and definitely is the case with the Boba Fett show, and with the Obi-Wan show, and I haven't seen Ahsoka. I've seen half of one episode of Ahsoka. I kind of like to see that show, actually, but that's the other one. To my knowledge, Jonathan Dyer, the answer to this question is no. I don't know if she's going to go to the rebellion or not, but don't be totally shocked if Dedrish shows up again at some point. They definitely left that open. So, but the acting is terrific. They got great actors. They actually finally gave what's her name? Genevieve O'Reilly. They actually gave her something to do as an actual character to play as Mon Mothma, as opposed to there's Mon Mothma. She has 3 lines in the movie. Great. So that's fantastic. I did kind of like that too. That was sort of interesting. But they had already done that with the Mandalorian, and that's actually in the 2 episodes we watched the other night. That was the thing that I thought was cool, was that the Mandalorian speaks Tusken Raider, which I thought was kind of neat. The problem is, I think the problem is just the nature of the corporatism that drives the creative decisions by these shows, right? If you've got and it's really hard to get away from that with these huge properties like Star Wars and Marvel and whatever. And Disney owns both of them. But the same thing is true of James Bond. There's been tons of terrible James Bond movies. This was great, yeah, and you can absolutely see a completely different end that Cyril might have ended up at, right? So the Han Solo movie was okay. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was very a very unambitious film. If you could have imagined what's kind of the most boring backstory I can imagine for Han Solo, that's pretty much the movie we got. Now there were some good performances in it. I've actually liked Woody Harrelson in it for some reason. Although I'd liked Woody Harrelson in other stuff, I just didn't expect to like him in Star Wars. Donald Glover is great as young Lando Calrissian. Well, although we got a very compressed second season of HBO's Rome, at least we got the end of, we went to the end of the story, I get, or to an end of the story. Yeah, this is, it did. Yeah, I guess Ron Howard reshot most of the movie. Emilia Clarke's usually good in stuff, and she was good in that. There's no I almost never want to blame the actors. It's almost always the writing and directing that is the problem. I mean, sometimes you'll have a legitimately untalented actor, but that's not really the case with anybody involved. Alden Ehrenreich, who was not that good as young Han Solo, has been excellent in other things that I have seen him in. He was in Oppenheimer, and he's good in Oppenheimer. I'm not sure that Disney has creative control of that, though. I thought that they were just broadcasting it in the US. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not really much of a Doctor Who fan these days. Charles has no time to watch all the gaming channels. How can he have time to watch anything on TV? Yeah, I can't keep track of the streaming, different streaming networks, to be completely honest. I mean, I do think that there is something to the idea that you already kind of know where the characters are going, so there can be less drama because such and such, Han Solo's not going to get killed in the movie. It is nevertheless possible to have a good movie despite that. And Andor is actually a really great example of that. How many of the main characters in Andor are Star Wars characters, known characters from other products? There's Andor. You have mentions of a few other characters. You have Mon Mothma, and that's kind of it. Almost everybody else, I can't think of any other examples. Everybody else is a new character. Oh, Jimmy Smits's Bail Organa. Those are the only previous existing characters from that show. Stellan Skarsgård, totally new. Clea, totally new. Dedra, totally new. Cyril, totally new. Bix, totally new. All those people. So I'm amazed that we got it, and I'm really glad that we got such a good Star Wars experience out of a Star Wars creative environment at Disney that seems predisposed to just churning out easy trash that they know will make money. So, and the soundtrack is really good too. And the soundtrack in the first season is really good, and then they got a different composer to do the soundtrack in the second season, and it is different but equally good. I was very impressed with that. Very impressed. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. That final reveal didn't really totally. There are spoilers here, folks. I'm trying not to do that. The final reveal didn't hit me really powerfully, but other parts of the show did, and that's totally normal. What ultimately really worked is the fact that the writing was really good. That's really also the directing, the cinematography is really good. I really liked Stellan Skarsgård's character too. And I think that it improves Rogue One. I frankly think it improves A New Hope. And I'm not sure I need to, and then maybe you watch Empire Strikes Back. And I'm happy with that amount of Star Wars. So I appreciate that, Scott Rowland. Well, so, I mean, the Ewoks are in there to sell toys, right? And you can obviously see in a lot of Disney, I mean, but it's not like Disney invented this. If anything, Star Wars invented making movies to sell toys, right? not really invented, but it was the thing that really blew that wide open. So it was tense. It was, you believed in the characters. The characterization was really good. The character arcs are really good. You get this, and having watched the first episode a second time now, this is the first episode, so this is not a spoiler. In the first episode, there are some flashbacks to Cassian as a youngster. Okay. And you don't really get much of that throughout the rest of the show. But it's like he is a kid who grows up on this like imperial mining planet. And there's basically a lot of there's these tribes of feral bastard kids running around. And then the planet has just been industrially poisoned and everybody's fucking dying. And he manages to get off of that planet. So yeah, I have liked some of the new Doctor Who material. I thought the War Doctor story with John Hurt was really good. For example, I thought that was top tier, and I really liked Peter Capaldi, although I didn't watch all of his stuff. But I do think that Doctor Who in general has a lighter tone than I would want. Now they are making Spaceballs too, I guess, and I don't know anything about that. I don't really care. Also, the other thing cool about Andor is that I'm going to close with this. It really makes you feel why anybody is opposing the Empire, because none of the movies and none of the previous shows, other than just mustache twirling bad guys, really showed you how the Empire is actually bad, where Andor actually does. And I thought that was cool. And it also shows how the Empire is formidable. The ISB, for example, which makes mistakes kind of all throughout, but they're like the kind of bureaucratic mistakes that happen in bureaucratic organizations. And at the same time, they feel like it feels like a real organization. So, and this is true. This is pretty much what I do. I've seen this, but I'll tell you what, the prices on the Facebook RPG auction page tend to go kind of high, to be honest. I have bought nothing on that, where I have bought a bunch of wargames off the Wargame Marketplace. All right, folks, we are out of time, so we're going to wrap it up here tonight. So, reminder, we will be back. There will be no Chit Show next Sunday due to Origins, okay? But we will be back next Monday with an Origins recap show, and there should be some additional video that will be coming out connected to that as well. So everybody have a great rest of the night. We'll see you all again soon. And anybody that's coming to Origins this weekend, look me up. I will be at the Wargame HQ when I am not prowling the dealer's room, desperately trying to spend all my money. So everybody have a great night. We'll see you all again.